Today, I want to talk about some sneaky, cool psychological insights or hacks that you can use to develop relationships very quickly. We're in a business of relationships, a people business. Everybody is, but ours is like 100x that. Nothing happens without other people. And so when you know about these levels of self-disclosure, then you can navigate your connections much quicker. And so we can take these lessons and apply them to networking events and conferences. And this is called the levels of self-disclosure. There's 6 of them because the top 3 stages are really kind of a get to know you here to levels 4, 5, and 6. There's a bit more vulnerability. These are big ouches in life. This is where the nasty divorces happen. On the other hand, you get a shoulder to cry on. Let's rule out the 80 right away and get to the 20 that are really going to move the needle. Hey, today I want to talk about some sneaky, cool psychological, let's say, insights or hacks that you can use to develop relationships very quickly. This is called the levels of self-disclosure. There's 6 of them, and this has been around in psychology for a long, long time, about 50, 60 years. And so I want to talk to you about the pace of which you get to know people. And you'll see this a lot in dating. If you're going to go on a date with somebody and they probably want to sleep with you on the first date, let's say that. They want to get down and dirty right away. And some people are like, yep, that's perfect. That's the appropriate pace for me. Other people are thinking, whoa, 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 that's way too fast. Let's get to know each other first. And a common term in business is, you don't want to get in bed with someone right away. And part of the reason is this levels of self-disclosure. And so we can take these lessons and apply them to networking events and conferences and meet and greets and whatever it is and work them to our advantage. So today I'm going to teach you about the 6 levels of self-disclosure, kind of the psychology about behind them and what you can do to manage through all of them in a way that gets your needs met. So the very first level of disclosure, remember there's 6 of them, and we're going to go from the most shallow to the deepest. The first one is a human level. Is this person a safe human? Can you say hi to them? Most people, it'll be yes. Some people, it'll be a no. If you're in a dark alleyway in the city in the middle of the night, and you see someone in a leather trench coat, they look bad, you're not going to say hi to them. I know that doesn't happen all the time. It's ridiculous, but I'm trying to prove a point here. Most of the time when we deem someone unsafe to even say hi, it's because they appear disheveled or homeless or maybe are begging or unsafe in whatever ways. So these are people that we don't even give a hi to. And the next level, level 2 here, is going to be the surface level. And so this is going to be any sort of like hi, bye, how's it going? How's your day going? These kind of very typical, get to know you things. We might even talk about, like, hey, what's your favorite food? What's the special today? What's your name? All that kind of really easy stuff. And if we're taking this example to a real estate conference that's out of town, this might be the barista. This might be the person working at the hotel. This could be the person who's taking your name and ticket and giving you your badge. These are people that you are generally friendly with, and you just kind of are establishing rapport and initial connection. Psychologically, at this stage, people are testing the water to see if you're open and willingness to just engage with them as a human. And so if you are friendly, cool. Maybe we can go one level deeper. If not, all right. I'm so glad that we didn't get to know each other more. Awesome. On to the next level. Level 3 is facts, things about us. Like, hey, you're at a real estate investing conference. Someone says, tell me about yourself. Well, I grew up in Fargo, North Dakota. I have a sister. Right now I live in Minnesota. I love dark chocolate. So these are kind of facts about our lives. and we're building familiarity with people, and we're really kind of getting to know, getting a sense of, do we have any sort of shared interests or experiences? And psychologically, this is still a relatively safe space. And we are just kind of identifying, is there common ground here? Do I feel comfortable about this person to consider sharing some of my emotions? You know, hey, we're both at this same conference, so we must love real estate investing. Great. We are on common ground with this shared fact. But I don't know yet if I'm willing to share the next stage with you. And at this stage here, we need to pause because the top three stages are really kind of a get to know you. Um, Anyone can Google you and probably find these things out about you. In level three in the facts, sometimes we're disclosing facts people don't know about us, but they're usually positive. There isn't a lot of controversy here. If I tell you my favorite TV show and you don't like it, that's not a great big deal. If I tell you I love the Green Bay Packers and you like another rival team, if you like the Chicago Bears, okay, whatever. It's actually more common ground because we have kind of like a common rivalry here, but things are surface level. There's nothing in there that you can use against me. If you were to be the next person on stage at this conference and you put everything that I just told you on a slide on the presentation, that's fine with me. I might be a little embarrassed that suddenly there's a slide about me, but other than that, it's all good. As we go down here to levels 4, 5, and 6, there's a bit more vulnerability here. There's a bit more risk and reward. The risk is you could use some of the things I tell you against me, and I could do that to you. But the reward is this is where we create the real human connection, not only for our personal selves and all of the wonderful neurotransmitters that go through our body that tell us, oh, this feels warm and cozy to be around this person. You get that vibe from being around them. Or if we're dating, you get those butterflies around that person. Just that feeling that it's really nice to be in their presence. That's a cool reward. But also, this is where business happens. This is where the needle gets moved for you. We're in a business of relationships, a people business. Everybody is, but ours is like 100x that. Nothing happens without other people. So this is where you get to know investors' true intentions and concerns, their aspirations, their dreams, what they would do if you gave them a 3x equity multiple, and what would happen if you didn't. And this is where we talk about the things that we aren't necessarily socially acceptable all the time. And so we're taking a big risk, but we could also be getting a bigger reward because we're saying, hey, you're in. This person really gets me. And so, with that in mind, let's go to step 4. Step 4 is all about an emotional experience. So, if we are at a real estate conference, we might say something like, I disagree with what this guy said about market trends. In fact, it kind of pissed me off. We could say something like, oh man, that really inspired me. I was brought to tears. We're sharing things about our feelings, our emotions, things that are subjective. There's no right or wrong. We're being a bit more vulnerable. We're taking some emotional risks. Things like, when I read that book, I got really nervous. I'm loving all this information, but oh my goodness, I'm feeling overwhelmed with all the things that I haven't been doing. And so psychologically, what happens at this stage is people are testing whether or not you or the other person can reciprocate their vulnerability with empathy. Can you say something like, oh, I understand? Or, oh, I got that way too. Or you can say, oh, I know somebody who can help. Or are you saying stuff like, toughen up? Or, hey, if you disagree, do something different. Are you meeting the vulnerability with empathy? And so when you know this is a real competitive edge for you. If you're meeting with an investor, a broker, anybody, and they're telling you their motivations, if you pause for a second and respond with empathy instead of sweeping it under the rug or being too emotionally unresponsive to be able to handle that, if you can handle it um, with some really good empathy, ooh, I feel that. Oh, I get that. Oh, wouldn't that be cool? Then you can really meet them and feel like you're creating a connection here, because this is feel. We've moved past logic. We're now into the feeling part. Next, level 5. This is intimacy. So this is where I'm sharing with you any sort of things that are very deeply personal thoughts, feelings, beliefs. We're starting to get into the realm of politics here, of shared fears, aspirations, failures, childhood experiences. Here's where if I share a picture of me dressed up in my 9-year-old Halloween costume, are you going to laugh at that and say and share yours, or are you going to say, "Oh, dude, you were an idiot," or "You were a dork," or something like that? Are we going to connect over this, or is there going to be some distance here? And so, what we're doing here psychologically is we are doing a thing called psychological safety. Basically, if I'm intimate, if I'm vulnerable, if I am willing to put this out there, are you going to be a listener who's critical of me? Are you going to tell other people about this? Are you going to spread this as gossip? Am I going to regret sharing things with you? These are big ouches in life. This is where the nasty divorces happen. This is where the investor who takes your LP capital and then never communicates with you. This is where distrust and anger, hate, vitriol really show up. On the other hand, it's where you get a shoulder to cry on. It's where you get that person who roots for you no matter what. It's where you get that person where you say, "Oh, I made this huge mistake," and they vouch for you and they help you figure it out. These are the ride or die people in your life. There's not going to be a whole ton of them. So when you find this, keep this. These are things where if you're at the real estate conference, the people that you naturally migrate to. These might be the people that you roommate with, the people you're always around at happy hour, the people who you really talk about what's going to happen and how this conference is going to move the needle for you or not, or if you're going to go to a different conference or not, or if you're freaking out about money or you don't know about the market or you're concerned about this or that. These are your people. The next level, the very lowest level, level 6, is going to be your core self, your existential self. This is going to be things about how the world should and should not be run, your deepest values, your mission, your vision in life, all your identities, basically why you exist, the spiritual part of you, the meaning of life, the why you were put on this earth to do what you do. Also, it's your bad habits and your nasty crap, your very humanness, as they call it, the things that make you disgusting and gross and repulsive. It takes a certain person to know that about you and to still love you. And this reflects the very highest level of openness and vulnerability. It's oftentimes reserved for a very small number of people. Some people are blessed to have 5 or 10 in this category. Other people have 0. They never develop the ability to trust someone enough to get to this level. And so with this stage, it's mutual respect. It's respect with a capital R. It's trust, it's understanding. And it's typically found in very long-term relationships. And a lot of times what's interesting enough is to get to this level 6, you need to have hurt each other at level 4 and 5 before, and then corrected those mistakes and moved forward. Interestingly enough, you when you make mistakes here, on level 4 or 5, when trust is broken, whichever way that happens, if you don't correct it, fizzles away. These are the people that were in our lives for a season. But when you correct those and you build a deeper level of disclosure, these are the people that are there for a reason. And so when you know about these levels of self disclosure, then you can navigate your connections much quicker, because a lot of times if you're at a real estate conference, you're going to say hi to everybody. If you're me, especially, like if you're a golden retriever like me, you're going to say hi to absolutely everybody. In fact, at one conference I went to, I was like, hey, 12 of us are going to go to lunch. Do you want to come with? And this guy was like, I can't, dude. I got to clear out these plates. I work here. I was like, oh, okay. Sorry about that, man. So, you're going to say hi to everybody, and you're probably going to share level 2 surface level things. Hey, I flew in yesterday. Hey, I slept pretty good. I always iron my pants and watch an episode of Seinfeld ahead of time. I love dark chocolate. They've got a very good mocha here, things like that. And we're going to share things about, who we are and what we're here to do. So when you arrive, you can already know that you're willing to disclose pretty much anything that's a fact or anything about you that isn't steeped in emotion right away. You don't have to sit on the sidelines or think about this or pump yourself up to talk about yourself or ask people questions. You could probably just ask one question. Where are you from? Cool. What were your thoughts on this part of the presentation? You can get into level 4 disclosure pretty quickly just by knowing that if we're all here for a real estate conference, we probably all have similar facts, backgrounds, reasons for being there. We all love alternative assets. We all hate and despise 401ks. Cool. We don't need to worry about that. We can just understand right away. Like if we're going on Tinder, we probably know we're going to hook up later tonight, so we don't have to worry about any of the other things. And I'm not telling you to do that. I'm not telling you not to do that. But if you're at a real estate investing conference, you can probably find common ground very, very quickly. So you can start to get into the initial questions much quicker that are deeper. So instead of saying, hey, what brought you here? Hey, what's inspiring you right now? What's concerning you about the market right now? To see how that's a level 4 disclosure instead of a level 3. And so you're just starting off at a deeper spot. And so what that does is it leverages your precious time around all these people at this networking event so that you can find out who's in and who's out. Because if people don't respond to that level 4 disclosure question with a level 4 answer, if they're not willing to, then hey, move on. We just don't have a vibe. And that happens naturally. We have natural fits with people. And if we're thinking of the 80-20 rule, hey, let's rule out the 80 right away and get to the 20 that are really going to move the needle. Because if we're at a conference with 1,000 people, we don't need to get to know every 1,000 people. We want to know who are the 200 people that are really going to help us out. Now, all of this is in a fun psychological theory called the social penetration theory. Speaking of Tinder, I mean, I probably wouldn't have named it this. I have a hard time saying it without snickering, but shout out to Altman and Taylor who developed this theory back in 1973. What social penetration theory is all about is it's about penetrating emotionally. I guess that's not any better. But what they're talking about is pace, speed. An over disclosure right away says, whoa, I'm going to back up. Whoa, I'm backing up. And we've been there before, right? When you're at a conference or just meeting someone or whatever, and they're sobbing or in tears or an emergency is happening, and you're like, bro, this is too much right now. Or if someone's asking you very, very deep questions about your business and what are the hurdles and all this kind of stuff, you're like, whoa, this seems too salesy. So going for an over disclosure or too quick pushes us away. Just as much as not reciprocating at that certain level or with the appropriate amount of empathy, that also pushes us away. And so it's really a theory about the appropriateness. And it's a balance between going down these levels of disclosure with disclosing things about yourself and asking someone else to disclose about themselves. It's a feel. But when you know about this stuff a little bit, then you can use it to your advantage. And remember, this stuff happens all the time. It happens in places that you don't even know. For instance, think about your PPMs. If you're meeting someone at a conference who's a potential LP investor, you don't give them the PPM right away. It's too much. It's too much self disclosure. Instead, you're giving them a one sheet that has probably just facts on it. It's a level 3 disclosure. Here's the market we're in. Here's the trends, the economic trends, the job trends, all that kind of stuff. Here's the number of people who live here. Here's the building. Here's the business model. Easy peasy. And if they want to know more, then you send them the executive summary. This might be 4 or 5 pages. It has some of the risks. It has more of the numbers involved, which is emotional, right? Thinking about your investment going somewhere, that's emotional. And so it's got a bit more, but it's not full disclosure. And then when they sign on and said, sure, send me the PPM, now you've got the big 200-page disclose everything. This is the open kimono moment. This is the level 6 core existential part of our business plan. This is what we believe is going to happen, what we should and should not do. And I'm telling you out front so that we can be absolutely transparent. And so this shows up all sorts of places. Your job is to show up at a place and know that we're already at level 3 and to have your level 4 questions there respond with empathy. I hope that this is helpful for you. Go out there and practice this to help make your networking more magnetic so that you can move the needle in life and in business. See you out there.